Hey everybody, I want to do a quick conversation, I guess, about what power tool brand to buy as an electrician and what I've experienced and sort of like small little things that I've noticed. So just to guess a little about what I've used, I used DeWalt when I first started out, but then I gave all my tools to one of my siblings, and because they just bought a house, and so I wanted them to be able to do stuff like that. And not to mention, I was also looking to get into Milwaukee, so I bought Milwaukee, and it was going great. And then all my stuff got stolen out of my car, so I kind of had a stigma against Milwaukee because I was like, oh, it's just like a red target basically. And so then I moved to Flex, and now I'm back to Milwaukee. So that's kind of my sort of personal use with at least a couple major tool brands. And yeah, so I guess I'll give my opinion first just about bandsaws. So for bandsaws, big bandsaws surprisingly have the same blade size. So I think it's like 44 and 5/8 or something like that. They're always weird numbers, so sorry if I got that wrong. But the big bandsaw blades is surprisingly the same size, I think, for a couple of bandsaws. But for the mid-size bandsaws, those ones vary quite a bit. DeWalt makes a bandsaw that's mid-sized in their 20-volt line. And so does Flex. They make a 24-volt mid-sized bandsaw that has like a jaw capacity of like 2 inch. And it's a very weird size. It's like 32 and 7/8 is the size of the bandsaw blade. And I don't know if I just work with contractors that are just reluctant to buy extra stuff. But that is a caveat I will say about going into DeWalt or basically not Milwaukee, because from the supply house, something to consider as an electrician is that there's going to be a lot of consumable stuff that you have to pay for, and it's kind of just in the trade. It can vary from people are like, oh, that's your responsibility, which is total crap, to, oh yeah, we'll get that for you, but you need to only have certain brands. So that's something to consider. So for bandsaws, for like the mid-size M18 bandsaw is like a 35 and 5/8 or something like that. So if you get that size, or if you get a bandsaw, you're gonna have to be getting new bandsaw blades, and $25 doesn't sound like a lot, but say you're doing a commercial project where all you're doing is cutting pipe, and they don't have your bandsaw blade for you to replace, and they are just not being great at responding to your actual needs on the job site, then you might have, gone in, spent all that money on that bandsaw, and then there you are needing more bandsaw blades, and it just comes out of your paycheck. So you might be like, oh, this brand is cheaper or something, or I'm already in this brand, but you might want to just consider getting a Milwaukee mid-size bandsaw, because your work will typically always have those blades on site if you're in a commercial setting. So that's one thing. I'm kind of just going to give my initial impressions on a commercial perspective on that. So that's one. And then another thing is just communal batteries, basically. Like, there's going to be a lot of situations where you're running cordless tools and you're really sending them to the max on what is required of them. So you're going to be burning through batteries, and sometimes you're in the middle of nowhere. Like, for instance, I was working on a data center recently, and we were cutting down all these 4-inch with our sawzalls, and it was just burning through batteries. And having more Milwaukee batteries as a backup of my personal, in addition to the batteries from the company, allowed me to be more efficient. I definitely would say etch all of your tools with your name. Get like a little Dremel tool and etch all your name, and maybe even phone number into them if you want to give someone the benefit of the doubt. if someone's going to be a good Samaritan and return your tools if they ever find them, or at the very minimum so they aren't easily mixed up. But yeah, so I would say that having the same brand as what seems to be the industry standard is relatively a smart idea, because like I said, you're going to be matching bandsaw blades. If your batteries run out, let's say you're a guy who doesn't have, you're someone who doesn't have a whole lot of investment in batteries, and you're on a very demanding job, having that extra batteries from your company can really save you. Or somebody who's working alongside you and they can loan you one. So that's something to consider, is that seems like the companies are really just going into Milwaukee, and that's not 100% true. I know a bunch of contractors who like only buy rigid because they have like a lifetime warranty, but in my experience, outside of relatively some outliers, going into Milwaukee is a trend for companies, and because of that trend, you may save some money down the line from going into that brand, and also some benefits as well from the workflow, because you'll be using batteries that are already existing in another sense, and you'll also be having bandsaw blades that you can jump in on. What's another example? There's also like let me just go down the tools. Like a circular saw, they all have pretty much the same size, so that doesn't really matter. Impacts pretty much all around are the same. Drill, pretty much same scenario there. Oscillating tools. Oscillating tools, some have unique oscillating tool blades. I don't think this is true of DeWalt. I think DeWalt's oscillating tool is superior in my opinion because of the way that it has like a quick eject for the oscillating tool blade. So in my opinion, their design is better, but I don't know if that's a reason to buy one or jump out of the line of tools that you're already in to get one. But the design is better, because the Milwaukee one is like a set screw that holds the blade, and it comes out of the tool. And if it can come out of the tool, then it can get lost. So I do like the design on the XR DeWalt oscillating tool. It has like a quick eject button, and it's just better. But in the case of Flex, Flex has a proprietary Star brand, I think is what they call it, and that brand has a completely different mounting plate to the oscillating tool. And because there's a different like mounting plate, it doesn't, like, you can't like mooch off of other people's oscillating tool. You'd have to get an adapter, or blades. You'd have to get an adapter to use it. So within the case of an oscillating tool, in the case of going and buying Flex tools, this is kind of a minority point because not a lot of people have Flex, but if you are considering getting Flex, that's something about their oscillating tool that is maybe not so obvious or advertised in the marketing of their product. But just know that, like, if they buy Diablo oscillating tool blades or Milwaukee oscillating tool blades, and you have Flex, you can't use them. You have to buy your own. So that's one thing I also noticed as well with Flex in particular. And then my last point, I guess, is just that Milwaukee has a surprising amount of innovation, in my opinion, from what I've just seen. I think their tool line is constantly coming up with new stuff, whether it be necessary or not, like a strut cutter. Personally, I don't see a use for that, even as like a contractor, like just use a bandsaw. Or even the all thread cutter. Like, why do you need an all thread cutter? Like, you have a bandsaw. Like, you can just go real nice and slow on a bandsaw, and you'll have a completely seamless edge to the threads. So but yeah, that's just a point. Like, they make an insane amount of tools. Like for instance, if you ever do LED work, if you're ever working on LEDs and you need a soldering gun, and you don't want to have a corded soldering gun, I don't know if other brands make one, but I know that there's an M12 line with Milwaukee, and they have one. And if you're someone who likes to get into the M12 line, it's already in that network and it works out well for you. So if you have a soldering gun, you can tie the connections around corners and stuff to the LED light strips and use that to your benefit. So like that's one tool that I've seen that they have that is relatively pretty good at what it does, and heats up really fast and gets so hot so quick it can burn holes through your shirt. So that's like an electrician specific tool that they have. They also have, a lot of companies have whole hogs, but again, like the innovation thing, like they keep coming out with new generations, and you can make an argument of whether or not that is just forcing people to buy who already invested in that tool to get more tools from that same company. But for instance, like Makita hasn't really changed their designs in their tools. They've started out with the new 40 volt max line, but I don't know. I don't feel like they have as much innovation. But I guess one critique I guess I have of Makita is that their 40 volt line has a different mounting plate to its batteries than their 18 volt stuff. So like, and I don't know how much they built out that line as well. Like, have they completely replicated all their tools to bandsaws to whole hogs? And kind of just reaching here on this, but I haven't looked too much into their line. But I do know that Milwaukee is coming out with new stuff, and I feel like a lot of their tools are geared towards electricians, so it kind of works out in that sense, like with their power tools. So like they have knockout sets that are electronic. Not that I would say that journeymen or apprentices should be buying that, but like if you do, like if your contractor uses a hydraulic or an electric knockout set and they need an M18 battery for it, then you would be in a position to help out quicker, or be able to get there, be able to use a tool that your company has and nobody charges the company batteries, so then you'd be in a position to help out in that case. So there they have, the electronic knockout, and you'd be in a better position to be more efficient if you had that. Because I think nobody really likes, like, there's a certain point when you're like bending over backwards for the company, and I feel like that's a line that you should be wary of crossing for a number of reasons, especially your own money, and making sure that you're working to get more money and not just working to buy more tools. So like don't do that too much, but being in that same M18 line does help out in a number of ways. Like they also have crimpers, electronic crimpers that can crimp on ends for your grounding lugs, or if you're landing feeders. So again, having that tool already, the batteries with you, might help you out in that sense. And they're always going to have like a bandsaw station if you work with a company who has like safety protocols, who make you cut strut in a tri-stand like all the time, or cut conduit in a tri-stand all the time. Then that's another situation where that's probably going to be the brand that the company has, and that should maybe influence your buying choices. So there's probably some tools that I left out, but just kind of some opinions, I guess, that you could see as a case for Milwaukee as an electrician.